So even in difficult and somewhat dark times, we see the law was working this week. The Constitution structure, where the Senate performs advice and consent functions, it actually worked with respect to Matt Gaetz. There are other red alarms with Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth and RFK Jr. and others, and we will get there and we will talk about it on today's show. But with respect to Donald Trump's appointment of Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, it crumbled and it demonstrated serious weakness by Donald Trump and his transition team. And that weakness is metastasizing. We see that with Pete Hegseth. And again, we see here the tentacles of the law in action, because Hegseth was credibly accused of engaging in a sexual assault, a rape of a woman back in 2017. Police reports were made, and now through public records request, those police reports are made public, and people can evaluate these claims. People can evaluate a police report that talks about rape of unconscious women, and people can assess if a Fox Weekend News host who's accused of that and has zero leadership experience of material substance within the military should get the nuclear codes and be the Secretary of Defense. And we're going to talk about that with RFK. We're going to talk about that with Tulsi. But the entire system has not broken down. And the first rule when dealing with authoritarians is you don't obey in advance. Frankly, I think it should just be shortened to you don't obey, but you get the point. So I want to talk about all of that. And then I want to talk about another big misstep, I think, of Donald Trump, who wants to spend his time now with the Department of Justice, which he will weaponize, relitigating 2020. So focused on what went down, he wants his Department of Justice to what? Attack judges he appointed who ruled against him in 60 plus cases in 2020, and then try to make allies of those judges to enact his agenda when those judges are now even further empowered to strike down administrative acts and other steps that he may take to try to decay and destroy the government. We'll talk about all of that and more. And we'll talk about what's going on in New York, because there will be a ruling on the motion to dismiss the criminal charges against Donald Trump before Inauguration Day. That's not going to get put out indefinitely. So we'll have a ruling there. And, look, as I said at the beginning, I would certainly like to be talking about now legislation that can be passed to help people gain access to more health care, to improve quality of living. But right now we are seeing some of the foundations established by our framers working, even if in small ways. Let's bring on Michael Popak here. And again, it's why our voices always matter. And I never buy into anybody who says, it's over, woe is me. You and I, before doing Legal AF, and you still now, are trial lawyers. And trial lawyers who tell you that they've never lost a case or a big case, they're not trying a lot of cases. Let me be very clear. So when you lose, you're upset, but you get back up and you work harder than ever. Michael Popak.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the joke among trial lawyers. If somebody tells you they haven't lost a case, they haven't tried enough cases. That's just the way that is. But no, I wanted to first thank and congratulate the audience of Midas Touch, the community here, the Legal AF community, because I do subscribe to the hummingbird theory, and I do believe that our training, our focus on it here on this side of the microphone, and the reaction and the action taken on the other side, the audience, help bring down Gaetz. We talked about everybody's got 2 senators in every state. Reach out and contact them, because we need to throw a backbone into the Senate at the right moment. The fear was, and I think it's over now, to be honest. I think the Gaetz affair, it has, no pun intended, has also shown that in that test run, in that dress rehearsal, that there is no political will for the majority of the Senate, even the Republican majority of the incoming Senate, to be taken out in the back and be shot by Donald Trump along with the Constitution. They're just not going to go into recess in order to give Donald Trump free run to slam in without public hearing and without a confirmation process and violate Article 1 of the Constitution, all of these crazed candidates for the cabinet. Certainly not for Matt Gaetz. And you can see that how quickly Donald Trump, and we're going to talk about it in each segment today, how quickly Donald Trump quickly names somebody else to replace Gaetz within hours. He's got a plan B behind all of the crazy plan A's. And we just have to see and give support to those members of Congress. And I don't just mean the Democratic ones. In the Senate, particularly, one of the reasons Gaetz is not moving forward and is not going to even be in Congress, he's completely resigned in that regard, is because Joni Ernst, or should I call her Lieutenant Colonel Senator Joni Ernst, who got passed over for the Department of Defense position that she wanted desperately, is a battle warrior herself, and also got passed over for the number 3 position in the Senate. She wanted to be the whip, and old white guys got that position too. But she, at the right moment, with Cornyn, met with Gaetz and J.D. Vance and said, "You're not getting this position, and you're not going to run away from the sex crimes allegations that are in the report. And so you better step down." I expect her to take the lead with Hegseth. And there's a couple of people I want to focus our attention on during this particular show. One of them, of course, when we get to Pete Hegseth, and not just it's strange to say, not just the rape allegation, although that's disqualifying enough, but the things that he's written in his books about, and they're not historical fiction, they're his thinking about the role of the military in a civil war against the Democrats, which also makes him obscenely unfit to be in the Pentagon and run the Pentagon. But I also want to focus on this show on the new head of the Office of Management and Budget, Russell Vought, and the importance of that position, and also him being the chief architect of Project 2025. We got a lot to talk about. Some good things that came out of the Gaetz failure, which you led off with, and then some things we've got to now train our sights on and train our fire on in order to make sure these other people that you've just said, don't pass. He's going to get half his cabinet confirmed. You know, we'll get to it. Pam Bondi is going to get confirmed as Attorney General. The new Treasury Secretary he just picked is going to get confirmed. The Marco Rubio state going to get confirmed. But RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and Hegseth, which undermine our national security and compromise our national interests, we have to draw the line and fight. And it starts here and to promote it here on Legal AF.
You mentioned the new Treasury Secretary nominee, the only one Trump's nominated thus far, Scott Bessent. He was George Soros's chief investment officer before starting his own hedge fund. It's just ironic that the last 8 years, all we've heard was George Soros this, George Soros funded this, George Soros, money this, and actually George Soros's money guy is now the Treasury Secretary. Let me show you what my friend George Takei posted on Blue Sky. By the way, that's where you can find us now. Much better than Twitter X, I'll just say that. George Takei goes, "It's not a Russian spy ring that you're looking at in this photograph. It's a Justice Department graphic showing Venmo payments to girls by Gaetz and Greenberg." MAGA's spent all these years talking about these child sex trafficking rings, defaming Democrats with these conspiracies about Pizzagate and all of these things. Well, pull up that graphic one more time, Salty, because this graphic is real, and these lines represent payments that were made to sex workers and to children. We also got all of the data from Matt Gaetz, as well as his purportedly adopted son, not fully sure if it was really adopted, Nestor, who is the son of a woman that Gaetz was seeing as well, separately. Here we see over here the payments that were made, total of $10,000 in payments, and then the notes to the girls: being awesome, just because, being my friend. There are other ones for cartridges. I mean, this is some really gross stuff right here. And look, we've talked about Gaetz before, and we don't need to relitigate this now. I think the report absolutely still needs to be released, but wow, Michael Popak, those Republicans were sure ready to cover up child sex trafficking. They were rushing to cover it up. They were blaming the media for it. And one of the things that Donald Trump did during this awful transition thus far was basically expose literally the entire Republican Party as being a pro-sex trafficking party. I mean, that's what they did.
Yeah, I even when Linda McMahon from World Wrestling Federation fame or infamy, where she, I was like, all right, well, the women are at the kids' table in the cabinet until they switched Pam Bondi for Gaetz. Donald Trump's top 4 cabinet picks for the 4 big positions: Treasury, State, Attorney General, and Defense. Those are the big 4. The rest are okay, but those are the 4. All men, all white men. Many of them, except for Marco Rubio, had some sort of sex crime or harassment charge against them, or that's them. Then you go down to the kids' table where you got RFK Jr. He's got sex allegations against him that he sexually assaulted a nanny that's out there. Then you've got Linda McMahon, who's the Department of Education nominee, and all she's going to do is put that department out of its misery, hollow it out, and halve its budget. But she's supposed to protect America's children, and she's now been sued in a new case because the allegations are she and her husband employed a pedophile, knowing that he was a pedophile, who groomed and raped under 13-year-old boys who worked for World Wrestling Federation. New suit just got filed in Maryland. So I was like, well, there's the one woman. Oh, no, that didn't work either. It's just, we would never, as a party, as the Democrats or as independents or free-thinking people, it would all be, everything you and I are talking about here would be disqualifying events. It's just the sane washing that's gone on, coupled with Trump fatigue, where on other networks, it's just reported like, today it's partly cloudy and 58 degrees. Bill, another sex. Oh, it's just like a normal, like they're ordering tuna fish salad for lunch. And that's why you and I are always with our hair on fire, because it's important to say that this makes them unfit. We shouldn't even be talking about a confirmation process. And if we are, senators, do your job and interrogate appropriately at the confirmation hearings about these people's body of work.
Let me dispel the notion, though, that the selection of Matt Gaetz was some part of 4-dimensional chess in order to then bring in Pam Bondi. It wasn't, unless your 4-dimensional chess game was to expose Republicans in the House and most in the Senate of being pro-sex trafficking. If that was the case, then checkmate. You really own the libs with that one. But on the same day that Matt Gaetz announced that he would be withdrawing his name as the AG pick, Trump and his team were out there putting the full court press against Republican senators, since they have enough votes if the Republicans would all rush to confirm Matt Gaetz. And they were threatening the Republican senators. And what they were saying was, you will buy yourself a primary that Elon Musk will fund against you if you refuse to support Matt Gaetz. This was the reporting from ABC, and it was confirmed by a Trump advisor who said, we're going to make Elon Musk buy a primary against you if you don't support a child sex trafficker. Here, play this clip.
But we're also told that behind the scenes, the Trump team has been playing hardball, and they've been giving an ominous warning to any Senate Republicans who might oppose his nominees. One Trump advisor telling our John Carl that the message is, quote, if you are on the wrong side of the vote, you're buying yourself a primary. That is all.
Okay, let's talk about Pam Bondi now. Obviously, the follow-up to that clip is that didn't work. Obviously, and Matt Gaetz withdrew his name from nomination.
Can I before you move on to Bondi, one thing that dovetails with that? They're actually right now, through Tim Parlatore, who used to represent Donald Trump until he fired him when Mar-a-Lago went sideways and Trump wasn't listening to Parlatore about how to handle the return of the documents. Parlatore now represents Hegseth, and he's gone on Breitbart and threatened, we're going to get to Hegseth, threatened the woman who claims she was raped by Hegseth and threatened her and said, if they try to make Christine Blasey Ford out of her, listen to this connectivity here, who was the very truthful and authentic sworn witness against Kavanaugh, who said that he assaulted her, that we all remember now. If they try that, they're going to sue her because they're going to claim she was the aggressor and to try to intimidate her because she signed a non-disclosure agreement in court.
That's part of their playbook, right? And I've read that police report. We'll talk about it in a bit. I mean, it is horrific. Even if you read what Hegseth says happened, it is absolutely disgusting and disqualifying. Even if you accept what he said, it is appalling and disqualifying. And then when you read what she said went down, it is some of the most heinous behavior imaginable. I want to talk about Pam Bondi, the pick for Attorney General who replaced Matt Gaetz. So I'll say this. I didn't know who Pam Bondi was until the impeachment trial of Donald Trump, the first one. And she gave the oral argument on behalf of Trump. Then I learned that she was the Attorney General of Florida for about 9 years. That's a big position. Florida, one of the biggest states, most populous states, being the Attorney General of Florida all of those years. It's a very big job. Okay. But then I watched her oral argument, and look, there are people who have different skill sets. Just not all lawyers are good oral advocates. She was not a good advocate for oral argument, at least. It was very bad. Like she couldn't really put sentences together, and I'm just objectively observing what went down. So they sidelined her from basically giving more speeches during the impeachment trial after she didn't have the facts. She didn't know what was really going on. Here, watch this.
He remained on the board until April of 2019. We also know that
she was answering a question. What did Hunter Biden do with the money that was paid to him? And, you know, her whole portion of that was to talk about Hunter Biden, and she didn't know what she was doing. But, you know, she then was kind of Donald Trump's kind of hype person in the background and would go to these events and, give the pre-planned speeches and do the Fox stuff. And yeah, we got to lock up Hillary, lock her up. Yeah. Here, watch this where she says, lock her up. I love that regarding Hillary.
Mm-hmm. This is at the 2016 Republican National Convention.
lock her up. I love that. Stay with me.
Also, she received about $25,000 from one of a Trump organization when the Attorney General's office in Florida was going to be investigating crimes relating to Trump University. That was back in 2013. Then she became close allies with Trump after she dropped the investigation into Trump University. Remember, there was a civil fraud case against Trump University that Trump settled out with the victims of the Trump fraud. But then remember, in 2020, during right after the election, she was one of the first people to literally jump in her car to go to Philadelphia with Rudy Giuliani and then lie about the 2020 results. And I think it's important, as you see right now, like that's not what Kamala's doing. That's not what anyone's like right now. That's just not what's happening. I mean, Kamala, President Biden are doing a transition of power over, but this is what they were doing back in 2020. This is Pam Bondi in Philadelphia in 2020. Play this clip.
Hey everyone, we wanted to give you an update. They are still not in compliance. Our votes are being suppressed. We cannot count the votes properly. What's happening is they have moved the barrier up to 6 feet, but they took away the ballot machines that were in the front row and moved them to the back of the building. It's unbelievable what they're trying to do to our votes that have been legally cast. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, your legal votes must be tabulated, and they're not doing that. They will not let us see anything. They're trying to drown us out now where we can't be heard. We're not going away. And now we're going to take further remedy to fix this.
All right, I want to remind everybody about the Legal AF YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed there. It's led by Michael Popak, the intersection of law and politics. It's more important now than ever, and it's rapidly growing. So make sure you're subscribed to Legal AF YouTube. And if you are subscribed to Legal AF YouTube, please put the blue heart in the chat right now. Popak, I want to get your take on Pam Bondi. Then I want to pivot to Hegseth, as well as the new OMB appointee by Donald Trump, the architect of 2025. Let's take our first quick break.
Flavored air isn't like vaping. If vapor was compared to sticky soda, Fume cores are closer to herbal teas. Fume has lots of delicious flavors to choose from, like crisp mint, orange vanilla, and new peach blush. With flavored air, you can satisfy your oral fixation through a passive diffusion system that utilizes no electronics, vapor, or combustion. Fume draws flavor to your mouth and fills the void ditching a bad habit can leave. Fume is not a vape, and there's no nicotine, and it's not addictive. That's very important. Also, Fume has non-toxic flavors. It truly is a guilt-free alternative to your bad habit. The look and feel of Fume is awesome, and the design is super high quality. Fume continuously invests in third-party studies to ensure the safety of their products and is backed by doctors in the U.S. Personally, my favorite flavor is the crisp mint. I love the taste, and I'm truly a huge fan of Fume. So many listeners of Legal AF have told me they've quit their bad habits with Fume, and I know it can do the same for you. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be the next success story. For a limited time, use my code LegalAF to get a free gift with your Journey Pack. Head to tryfume.com, that's TRYFUM.com, and use code LegalAF or scan the QR code on screen to get a free gift with your order today. Proper sleep can increase focus, boost energy, and improve your mood. Introducing Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep. If you know me, you know that Dream has been a game changer for my sleep, and boy, do I need sleep these days. I drink Beam's Dream Powder each night in order to get my optimal sleep. And I gotta say, I wouldn't be recommending this if it didn't actually help me. And today, my listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder. They're science-backed, healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Better sleep has never tasted better. Now available in delicious flavors like chocolate peanut butter, cinnamon cocoa, and sea salt caramel, with only 15 calories and 0 grams of sugar. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, melatonin, and nano-CBD to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. The numbers don't lie. In a clinical study, 93% of participants reported Dream helped them get better sleep. Beam Dream is easy to add to your nighttime routine. Just mix Dream into hot water or milk froth and enjoy before bed. Find out why Forbes and the New York Times are all talking about Beam and why it's trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/legalaf and use code LegalAF at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/legalaf and use code LegalAF for up to 40% off. If you were born after 1970, there's a very good chance your first razor was a multi-blade razor. These razors have been the status quo for over half a century. But where has that gotten us? According to a recent study, 2/3 of men expect some irritation when they shave. There's virtually no information on how to prevent irritation, only on how to treat it. This is why Henson Shaving wants to change the shaving industry, not through gimmicks like subscriptions or moisturizing strips, but through groundbreaking research on the impact shaving has on your skin. Here's a dirty secret about the razor industry. Even the cheapest dollar store disposable razor will likely give you a reasonably smooth shave. The trick is in removing the hair without any negative outcomes to your skin, like irritation, razor burn, ingrown hairs, razor bumps, etc. Henson wants to change the paradigm away from getting a smooth shave to getting a skin-friendly shave. When Henson looked at other razors, they noticed a consistent lack of blade support. Basically, that the blades have too much bend or flex. Think of anything else you'd cut with, a kitchen knife, scissors, etc. You would not want that blade that you use to be moving because you'd have less control. Henson's razors are designed to hold the blade so that there is less bend and less wobble. Henson makes their razors in their aerospace machine shop in Canada that also made parts for a Mars rover and the International Space Station. Henson's machinists are exceptional at manufacturing. And that level of precision is one of the big reasons their razor is so much gentler on your skin. They have made it so the blade extends only 0.0013 inches past the shave plane of the razor. That's less than the thickness of human hair. The Henson razor works with standard dual-edged blades that cost less than 10 cents each. Once you own a Henson razor, it's only about $3 to $5 per year to replace the blades. The razor itself is made of aluminum, and there's no plastic. There's also no plastic in Henson's packaging. What I love about Henson is that they are the thought leader in an area of skin-forward technology that is woefully lacking in any leadership or research at all. And for that, my face thanks you. It's time to say no to subscriptions and yes to a razor that'll last you a lifetime. Visit hensonshaving.com/law to pick the razor for you and use code LAW to get a free shave cream with your razor. Just make sure to add it to your cart. That's a free Henson shave cream when you head to hensonshaving.com/LAW and use code LAW.
Welcome back to Legal AF. Thank you to all of our pro-democracy sponsors right there. They're part of the engine that allows us to keep going. So a link to the discount codes are in the description below. Popak, where we last left, we were talking about Pam Bondi, former Florida Attorney General. I showed the various clips of her, the impeachment trial, her rushing to Philadelphia to claim non-existent election fraud and be by Giuliani's side. Talk to us about Bondi. Yeah. And then if you can, after Bondi, talk about some of these other picks that you mentioned at the top of the
Yeah, absolutely. But having practicing in Florida, I know Pam Bondi pretty well. I haven't been opposed to her. I haven't been opposed to her literally as an attorney general, but I do know her and know her background pretty well. I mean, she served on a couple of governors in Florida, all Republican. She's been angling for that attorney general job for Donald Trump for a long, long time. I was actually surprised she wasn't the first pick. But again, I think it was a matter of Donald Trump only wanted white men to be in the first four picks. And she was now the second. And as I said earlier, and I'm only half joking, she's going to fly through and get confirmed despite all of the criticism that we're going to level at her right now. As I joked, a chimpanzee smoking a cigarette and wearing a diaper could get the attorney general position now following Gaetz as long as he didn't have a rape conviction. And Bondi's going to get it regardless. So she's got her own problems. As you said, she actually directly solicited that $25,000 contribution from Donald Trump. That's the reporting. And then she was going to join with other attorney generals around the country, which they often do. We'll talk a lot on Legal AF and on the Legal AF channel about in the near future, attorney generals, especially ones that are Democratic, going after the Trump administration for violating constitutional law, the Administrative Procedures Act, and different ways we're going to pin down Donald Trump in the future with these lawsuits. But she was going to join with the then Attorney General, not Letitia James, Eric Schneiderman, who sort of went down in flames over some corruption scandals of his own. But he did take down Trump University, made them pay a $2 million fine, and closed their doors. Florida was going to join that until she solicited a $25,000 contribution to her campaign. And then lo and behold, she said, well, no, it's not really the proper use of funds in Florida. And she walked away and then walked right into the inner circle of Donald Trump. First impeachment trial, terrible advocate, but as you showed, it was almost painful to watch. I don't think she's tried a case in a long, long time. She was a prosecutor, kind of like Kamala, but not Kamala, in Tampa area in Florida. That's how but then by the time you get to be attorney general, you don't try cases anymore. Even Letitia James doesn't try cases anymore. And it shows. She's not going to do that at the Department of Justice either. Now, the problem with Pam Bondi is because of her close relationship with Donald Trump, is it just naturally fits with the weaponization of the Department of Justice that's going to go on. For those in our audience and around the world, we have, since the Nixon era, we have cherished having an independent Department of Justice and Attorney General, an independent FBI, for good reason. Even though it's in the executive branch, we've seen the reasons in the past why that's important. To Donald Trump, to the Federalists, to the Heritage Foundation, that is a four-letter word, independence of the Department of Justice. No such thing. Pam Bondi is going to be meeting regularly by phone, lunch, or otherwise with Donald Trump at least once a week to go over his naughty list, right? He's Dark Santa now. These are all the people he wants to retaliate against. We already have reporting on the Midas Touch Network and on Legal AF about him announcing yesterday that he's going after. And not only that, Jack Smith having already announced that he's not going to wait around to be fired. He's going to finish his report, which is what he's doing right now. I'm looking at my watch like, is it done yet? It's almost done in the Mar-a-Lago and the DC election interference case. Turn it in to Merrick Garland for Merrick Garland before Jan 3rd, when the new Congress comes in, to release it. We hope all that happens. But there's people below Jack Smith that Karen Freeman Agnifilo and I talked about us on the midweek edition. All of the career line prosecutors who are career prosecutors who have been there for 20 and 30 years, who are, as Merrick Garland put it at a recent farewell address, are the Department of Justice. They are the legacy. They are the institutional knowledge. They need to stay in their seats so that whoever is at the top can't implement all of their worst ideas. But Donald Trump's not going to do that. And Pam Bondi is not going to be the person to hold him back. In fact, she's going to implement it, meaning they're going to go after everybody that was on Jack Smith's team, everybody that supported it in Main Justice. Everybody in the FBI is going to get hollowed out by some combination of whoever he picks and Kash Patel and all that. They're all going to work together to weaponize. We're going to talk about Russ Vought in a minute, who I don't want people to lose sight of how important the Office of Management and Budget is. It is the nation's checkbook. Okay. If he wants to eliminate entitlements to Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and student loans and Department of Education, it's going to go through Russ Vought. And Russ Vought is known as the father of, or the chief architect of, Project 2025. He is a right-wing Christian nationalist like Pete Hegseth. And just recently, I'm talking about Russ Vought now. He said that if in any meeting, anyone says that the Department of Justice needs to be independent, they are to be immediately removed from that room and removed from the White House meeting rooms. He left out taking it in the back and shot, but that was sort of the implication. So this is the group that got into power, not in a landslide. We'll talk about that later. Not in a landslide. Okay, just an election where Kamala Harris got a lot less votes than she should have. People sat out the democracy for 4 years, and this is the result. But they all see it as empowerment to implement, that the American people want them to implement the worst principles and ideals of Project 2025, which we're going to continue to talk about. So Pam Bondi is a wet noodle. She's not going to stop any of this. And this is what I question when we get to the Hegseth thing. There is reporting, and I don't mean reporting, I mean testimony in books. Mark Esper, who used to be one of the many defense secretaries for Donald Trump, in one of his books said, think about this, Ben, this next part, I'm getting a chill and I haven't even said it yet, that Donald Trump wanted to shoot protesters in Lafayette Park behind the White House. First Amendment, American, U.S. citizen protesters. He wanted them shot. This is Mark Esper's testimony, okay? And only Mark Esper talked him out of it. Who's going to talk Donald Trump out of shooting Americans when he gets into office? Not Pam Bondi, not Pete Hegseth. Who? No one. And that is the problem that we were talking about when you and I and others on this network said the bridge is out ahead. We're hurtling in our democracy down this road. There's no bridge ahead. You can't vote for Donald Trump, and Democrats get off your couches and go vote. Now, that didn't happen. And now we're here on the other side trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces and pin down these people. It starts with the confirmation process and us as a united force here, the Midas touch force, the legal AF force, reinforcing what the Senate needs to do to take people like, well, Pam Bondi's not going to get out, but take people like Pete Hegseth out. Now, Pam Bondi is going to have an assistant, right? A deputy attorney general. He's going to get confirmed. That's Todd Blanche. That's the best functioning criminal defense lawyer that Donald Trump had. No other way to put it. I got to tip my hat. I mean, he was able to avoid criminal jail. Either if he couldn't avoid the convictions, he avoided the trials altogether or had them dismissed, and now sentencing is delayed. So he's got the number 2 job, which is basically the chief operating officer who's going to run. And at least he was in the U.S. Attorney's Office, but he's a MAGA goo-goo now. And so this is that group at the Department of Justice. So what we want is, we don't want, even though Donald Trump's going to go after them, we don't want this group of career main justice prosecutors to leave, because then we're cooked. And they can't hollow out the entire department in just 4 years. I mean, that's the one saving grace we have. It's only a 4-year term. It could be 8-year term, and then we really be talking about things. But you want to switch gears now and talk about the other candidates?
Yeah, let's take a look at this video of Pete Hegseth when he was asked about the sex assault allegations. His response was, as far as the media is concerned, he said that he was cleared of all charges. First off, he wasn't cleared, and it's also a very strange phrasing, as far as the media is concerned, because again, he lives in his Fox bubble of the weekend, propaganda. You're going to have access to the nuclear codes, okay? You have the most significant position, a civilian position in our entire military structure. And again, in addition to the sex assault allegations, this is someone who, yes, he served in the National Guard, but just think about what the MAGA Republicans said about Governor Walz's substantially longer and higher ranking service in the National Guard than Pete Hegseth, number 1. But number 2, there was no leadership position. I mean, right now we have Lloyd Austin, a former 4-star general, is the Secretary of Defense. That's the type of person put in that position, just to be clear. So here's what Hegseth says. Let's play it.
We take absolutely nothing for granted, and we welcome the opportunity to talk to any senator that wants to talk to us.
Did you sexually assault a woman in Monterey, California?
I have, as far as the media is concerned, I'll keep this very simple. The matter was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared, and that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you very much.
When you talk about him and you talk about some of the other picks, I want to remind people, though, another important, I think, legal win. And this is what led to Matt Gaetz to withdraw his name, is that at least enough senators stood up and said, we're going to go hold hearings. And I think some of the senators probably even told Trump when it came to Gaetz, we may still confirm the guy. And some of the people, the Murkowskis and the Collins and the McConnells and some of these people, and Thune, I think that they may have ended up, who knows? But at least their point where they're standing on business, or I say the Constitution, is we're holding these hearings. So as you talk about some of these other people, I want you to all imagine that guy getting cross-examined by Senator-elect and soon-to-be Senator Adam Schiff, or being cross-examined by other senators who are actually very good at this and want to make a name for themselves as well during these hearings. So Popok, talk about, some other stuff with Hegseth, his book, but they're going to be grilled and cross-examined, and a lot of these unqualified. Could you imagine the RFK one where they're going to say, so let's be clear, RFK, you said that kids turn gay from drinking water. That's fluoride,
your view. Ben. It's all fluoride. The confirmation process, I think, is going to be led against somebody like Hegseth. I'm calling on her here to do it. by Lieutenant Colonel Senator Joni Ernst, who got passed over for the Department of Defense, who, according to reporting, is the reason Gaetz withdrew, because he met with her in Cornyn, and they basically said, we're not dropping the sex crimes allegations against you. That report must be really bad, because he just torched his entire career. I mean, you think he'd double back and maybe run for the special election and probably win from that first district. And I'm talking about Gaetz now in Florida. No, he's moving on. Probably because he's going to get a pardon from Trump, and then they'll stash him away somewhere in the administration in a position that doesn't require confirmation. There's many of those. I could see him, Frank, staying on Gaetz for a minute, I could see him joining Rob Swamy and Musk on the fake blue ribbon panel non-department thing about government efficiency that Marjorie Taylor Greene is now going to be the point person for in the House. But that's not the one. That's all bullshit. That we're going to focus on Russ Vought in a minute. Back on Hegseth. Hegseth's the rape allegation would be enough for me not to have him confirmed. When he's cross-examined about his views on the military and the things that he's written in a dozen books. Look, this guy never thought he was going to be running I can't even say this word, running the Pentagon. Right? He's been in hair and makeup for 14 years at Fox and Friends Weekend Edition. Right? Not even the main show. Okay. This guy was writing books with his, oily slick back hair and his good looks and everything, with tattoos and everything, just because he thought, this is my career. My career is shilling books and doing Fox and Friends, and that's not running the Pentagon. So he wrote things that he probably regrets now. So Lieutenant Colonel Joni Ernst, Senator Tammy Duckworth, right, who lost her legs as a wounded veteran, is going to grill him about his comments, listen to this, that women should not be in combat roles in the military. He just stole the valor of 40 years of American women who gave the greatest sacrifice, including Tammy Duckworth, of course, who had lost her legs in a helicopter crash. He just talking about stolen valor. He just stole that valor. Okay. Mr. Major, in his local National Guard. And when he's cross-examined by them and others that have been in the military about the positions, their new book, the new information about American Crusade and his whole combination, this confluence of Christian nationalist right wing with the military scares the crap out of me, considering they want World War III because they want an apocalypse in order to install heaven on earth. He writes it. He also writes in his book, American Crusade, that he envisions a moment in time where the U.S. military is going to have to choose and not be on the sidelines in an American Civil War in which they're going to have to be used to crush, his words, intimidate Democrats, right? And the liberals and the liberal elites, that they're going to have to get off the sidelines, violate the Posse Comitatus Act, which says you can't use U.S. military on domestic soil for domestic policy reasons, which we've had on the books since post-Civil War period. He's going to have to answer for many. Right now, people are finally buying his books. They're rocketing up the Amazon. I'm sure it's up to number 1,258 by now, all these ridiculous books that he's written. And I'm sure there's staffers that are just highlighting to hand, there's a cover, hand these pages to your new senator from California, from all the people that served in the military. Cornyn's not happy either, by the way. Cornyn, who's a Republican, lost out the Thune for the job he wanted, which is Senate Majority Leader. And right now, it looks like he's going to be part of the barrier to the crazier of these Senate picks. Hegseth is not qualified. He's unfit to run the Pentagon and its $850 billion budget and make decisions. And he's already said what the decisions are going to be. No, if you're a woman in the military, you're out of combat. It's crazy. Transgender people in the military, you're out. You're drummed out of the Corps. Okay. He's in favor of the purge board run by former military who are going to recommend for removal from not just retirement, like instant firing by the quote unquote commander-in-chief Donald Trump of 3- and 4-star generals. Okay. Hollowing out our leadership and promoting junior people into leadership roles. Hey, you're a captain, but you're MAGA. You're now a 4-star general. You're a lieutenant. You be nice around it. You look like you're from Central Casting. You're going to be the new Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman. That's also from the fevered mind of Hegseth that he's going to have to answer to. I see him dying a death of 1,000 paper cuts in his, or worse, during his confirmation hearing. But we need to train our sights on it and talk about it every day and every way until it's dead on the Midas Touch Network and on Legal AF. But now I want to talk about Russ Vought.
Let's pause Russ Vought until we got to take a break. And then I do want to plug your Legal AF YouTube channel.
Can I say something about that? I want to thank everybody. And I know you do too. 60,000 people have joined and subscribed to Legal AF, the YouTube channel, since Election Day. That's a testament not just to what we're doing. That's a testament to our audience and them coming to us because we don't blow smoke or sunshine at that intersection of law and politics.
Let's take our last quick break of the show. When we come back, I want to talk about vote. And then I want to talk about what's going on in New York. Let's take our last quick break of the show.
I'm so excited to share with you guys an incredible scientific breakthrough to support our long-term health and wellness. C15 is the first essential fatty acid to be discovered in 90 years. And get this, studies have confirmed that it's 3 times better, broader, and safer than omega-3. It's pretty simple. Essential nutrients keep our cells healthy, which keeps us healthy. If you want to get sciencey about it, studies show that C15 works by strengthening our cells, improving our mitochondrial function, and protecting us against damaging free radicals. The result? Better long-term metabolic liver and heart health. It turns out many of us are deficient in C15, which results in weaker cells that make less energy and quit working earlier than they should. All of that makes us age faster, sleep poorly, feel sluggish. Is this sounding familiar? Fatty 15 is a science-backed, award-winning vegan and pure C15 supplement. By replenishing our cells with that essential C15 nutrient, Fatty 15 effectively repairs cells and restores our long-term health. Go science! Fatty 15 is made from a patented, pure, and oxidation-resistant C15 powder derived from plants. It's vegan-friendly, free of flavors, fillers, allergens, or preservatives. C15 is the only ingredient in Fatty 15, 100% pure. C15 works in multiple ways. It repairs age-related damage to cells, protects them from future breakdown, boosts mitochondrial energy output, and activates pathways in the body that help regulate our sleep, mood, and natural repair mechanisms that support our overall health. This functionality leads to a myriad of exciting benefits now and as we get older, namely improved metabolic liver and heart health, smoother functioning joints, deeper sleep, and healthier hair and skin and nails. Now that's essential. It comes in a gorgeous reusable glass bamboo jar, and refill capsules are shipped to your door quarterly in pouches made from recycled materials. Fatty 15 is on a mission to replenish our C15 levels and restore your long-term health. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/legalaf and use code legalaf at checkout. Let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great next day. That is, until I found Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Now look, I won't lie. I was a bit on the fence about pre-alcohol initially. But then, while hanging out with my fantasy football draft crew over at our favorite Jersey Shore sports bar, I gave it a shot. And believe me, it's the real deal. I spent the entire next day doing all my favorite things with my family, including a long hike on our favorite trail. I kept hearing about pre-alcohol, and I wondered what it was actually like. But now that I've tried it, I believe the hype. And with their GMO technology, they will release different products that help address toxic byproducts of modern living in the gut. Go to zbiotics.com/legalaf to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use LegalAF at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/legalaf and use the code LegalAF at checkout for 15% off. How closely do you track your bank statements and credit card transactions? I mean, honestly, I don't have time to do it as much as I'd like. But Rocket Money makes it so much quicker and easier to stay on top of my finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that empowers you to save more, spend less, and take control of your financial life. With Rocket Money, you can see all of your checking, savings, credit cards, and investments in one convenient place, allowing you to understand your spending trends. Rocket Money can help you set up a custom budget by identifying top spending categories and suggesting areas where you can adjust your spending habits. They'll calculate your monthly spending allowance and alert you when you're close to going over budget, so you can save more and spend less. I got 2 areas that I like to get control of: how much I spend on eyewear and takeout sushi. That alone could fund my daughter's college tuition savings account. They also have a goals feature that automatically saves money for you, so you don't even have to think about it. Whether your goal is to pay off your credit card debt, set away money for a house, or simply save your money, Rocket Money makes it easy. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you, sometimes up to 20%. Saving money on a cell phone or cable bill and not having to deal with customer service yourself, a dream come true. Rocket Money has over 5 million happy members and has saved its users over 1 billion across all of the app's features. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Get Rocket Money today at rocketmoney.com/legalaf. That's rocketmoney.com/legalaf. rocketmoney.com/legalaf.
Welcome back to Legal AF. Michael Popak, you left us all with a cliffhanger there. We're going to talk about what's going on with the Office of Management and Budget, a big OMB cliffhanger. And then let's talk about what's going on in New York to land this Legal AF weekend plane.
Thanks, Ben. There's probably no office among of all the things we've talked about and all the cabinet positions that's going to touch more American lives for the negative, for the worse, in the hands of Donald Trump than the Office of Management and Budget. Reagan had Stockman, guys can look it up, who notoriously was a budget cutter, meaning Americans who rely on the social safety net, which is a lot of Americans, regardless of stripe, Medicare, Medicaid, student loans, keeping kids out of poverty, giving them health care, the Obamacare, all goes through the Office of Management and Budget. Stockman was the cutter for Reagan. And Russ Vought, who is literally known and likes the compliment of being the chief architect of Project 2025, is back at Office of Management and Budget to be the cutter for Donald Trump. So what we're going to watch is this is the choreographed moves that you're going to see among the branches of government with Donald Trump in charge. You're going to see the cabinet picks, like Linda McMahon for education, are going to hollow out and halve their budgets and furlough people and fire them to make these departments non-existent, put them out of business slowly, shrink them. That's going to be supported by the House Oversight Committee, led by Comer, with a new subcommittee of the Department of Government Efficiency, a phony fake joke name for something that Elon Musk and Rob Swamy are running, to make recommendations about how to cut the budget, which comes through appropriations in the House, supported by the Office of Management and Budget, run by Russ Vought, all roads coming down to entitlements. When you hear Republican MAGA say they're going to cut trillions of dollars from the budget, that means they're taking away things that you've come to rely on in American society. It's called entitlements. And the word alone should make them think twice. People believe that they're entitled to these things. They've worked hard. They've contributed their taxes, Social Security taxes and the like, and they don't want them to go. I can't tell you how many texts and emails and chats, and I'm sure you have too, from people that have said, Popak, I'm really worried about, I live on a fixed income and I need this additional money and support. And why are they trying to take it away from me while they're giving fat cats and oligarchs and billionaires and trillionaires, and they're giving them tax breaks? Again, why are they doing that? And so that is, you put up the George Takei map. That's my map to keep an eye on. This is going to be the syncopated, choreographed thing with Russ Vought at the center. And so he needs to be asked hard questions during the confirmation process, because if he gets in, the rest of America needs to know what they just voted for in letting Donald Trump put this guy in charge of the American checkbook. And him be, they used to, when I was talking about Obamacare, which is going to be severely impacted by Russ Vought in a negative way. Back when they were challenging Obamacare back in 2012, the proto-MAGA, pre-MAGA, used to run around and say, "Oh, Obama's going to set up murder boards to kill your grandmother." Okay. Russ Vaught's going to set up a murder board to kill your grandmother. I mean, I don't know how to say this any differently. He is going to hold the checkbook, and it's going to be people's lives are hanging in the balance. I can't stress Office of Management and Budget enough. It's not sexy. It's hard to say. It's not that interesting. It's easier to talk about defense and justice, but this is important. And I want our group to link arms to oppose and to make their senators ask tough questions of Russ Vought.
Finally, let's chat about what's going on in New York. Some interesting developments this past week. I mean, obviously, in terms of the sentencing, I think both the district attorney's office and Trump's lawyers were all, not, the last sentencing date being pushed off. But in terms of this motion to dismiss the charges against Donald Trump, were you surprised, Michael Popak, that Justice Merchan is going to, hear this and rule on it in December? I mean, there will be a ruling on this, and that ruling will go through the Supreme Court's decision on absolute immunity, and it will go through all the facts of this trial. It'll be interesting to see what Merchan does. What do you think about this?
I want to rewrite the headline that corporate media put out there, which is Donald Trump will never see it inside of a jail cell. Merchan has postponed it indefinitely, focusing on this one word that he put, which only in New York, where I practice, only means I'm not going to reschedule it for the time being. It doesn't mean it's killed. It doesn't mean it ended. Let me bring everybody up to speed quickly. There was a motion to dismiss that Donald Trump filed a long time ago on immunity, claiming that even though almost the entirety of the crime that he was convicted of, the Stormy Daniels hush money cover-up election interference mouthful of a criminal case, where 12 jurors, fair and impartial in New York, convicted him of 34 felony counts of crimes. The question was whether any of that he was immune under the presidential immunity decision from last July. How could he be? Most people would say, because almost the entirety of the crime, the actual payoff, took place before he was president. That was the point, to interfere with the election to beat Hillary Clinton. The payback to Michael Cohen of the money, some of it happened while he was in office, but that's not the crime. The crime is the payoff. And so that had been fully briefed, that issue of immunity. And we were expecting on the 12th of November, Merchan to issue his ruling, as he said he was. All of a sudden, the weekend before, Donald Trump, after the election, decided to approach the Manhattan DA's office and say, we're going to file a new motion because our guy just got elected. We don't know what to call it yet. Maybe the interest of justice motion. I'm not making this up. This is what they called it. Because, president-elect, and he can't be interfered with either, and president-elects can't be sentenced, and, no law for that, no constitutional provision for that, and immunity. And, it's like kitchen magnet poetry. It's just words that they throw out, and they, with no case law, no analysis in these letter briefs, which is scary because the guy that writes these letters is the guy that's going to be the number 2 in the Department of Justice, Todd Blanche. But, listen, he's been successful to a certain degree so far. So the Manhattan DA said, "You're going to file another motion." I'm going to talk like a New Yorker now. Yeah, you want a piece of me? You're going to file another motion on this other thing? All right, what do you want to have happen? Well, we don't want him to issue the immunity decision yet. Okay. So they joined together and said to the judge, put a pin in you're about to issue it, but don't issue it. We want a week. This was the Manhattan DA. We want a week because of the unprecedented circumstances, everybody using the same phrase out of Jack Smith's toolbox, to come back to you about what our position is about any and all of this. If it changed, did the world change on November 5th or didn't it? When it comes to this case and this post-conviction, pre-sentencing event. And they said, fine. Judge said, fine. I was about to issue it, but I won't issue it. And then we got the competing filings on the 19th and the 20th of November, which was the Manhattan DA saying, look, we got the solution. You've got to do competing balancing act here, Judge. We understand it. On the one side, you've got the interest of public justice. A jury has spoken, and they need to be respected. On the other hand, you've got the office of the presidency, not Trump, but the office of the presidency and the president-elect issue. And you got to balance it. We got the solution. Just delay for now. That was the Manhattan DA's recommendation. Just delay, give them briefing on their new motion, whatever it is, so the record is clear. But do it quick. First week in December, that's the briefing. Everybody does it. You make your ruling before the inauguration, and then we agree to postpone sentencing to allow these substantive issues to be resolved through appeal. The other side, as expected, demanded the immediate dismissal of the convictions, which is not even a thing. They were moving to vacate, which is the right term, and overturn the convictions because Donald Trump had the fortune, and we had the misfortune of him being elected and was now president-elect. He's not actually president-elect yet, by the way. We know when that is. That's on Jan 6th, but we know where this is going. And so the first line in their letter to the judge was, dismiss immediately. And their last line was, dismiss immediately. And so the judge had these two competing papers. And so what he ruled was what I said he was going to rule on one of my hot takes on Legal AF, which is he was going to adopt the Manhattan DA's very thoughtful, very sober way to handle this, including the briefing schedule deadline. Because Donald Trump was like, we'll get around to it. Maybe the end of December, we'll give you a motion. Yeah, no. Here's what the judge ruled. The judge ruled everybody here on both sides, prosecutor and criminal, he's a criminal, a convicted criminal, agree that I should postpone the sentencing scheduled for November 26th to allow the parties to brief these issues. I'm going to do that. Okay. So we're like, all right. Everybody ran with that headline. Definitely postpone. That's not what he said. He said, I'm going to postpone it as long as by the 2nd of December, Monday, a week Monday after Thanksgiving, Trump, you file this thing you say you're going to file, this interest of justice motion. I'll also hold on issuing my already prepared immunity decision to give you time to do the briefing. I think that's a loser for Trump already, but he's going to put it on ice. You do all that. December 2nd for you. If you don't do it, I'm going forward on the 26th, but assume he does it. You, Manhattan DA, you got a week. December 9th, you file yours. No replies. That's all I want. 2 briefs. I'll make the decision from there. And then once I see that, so let's just play it out. December 9th, full briefing. Within days, the judge is going to issue his immunity decision, which is going to be, is my prediction, against Donald Trump, finding that the immunity decision for the Supreme Court does not apply to this particular set of events at all. He's then going to turn to the briefing on the interest of justice. Does the Presidential Transition Act of 1963, coupled with the fact that he's going to be the president, but he's not yet the president, does that affect sentencing? And he's going to say no. Okay? He's going to say that none of that. We're in uncharted waters, yes. We've never had a convicted criminal get reelected to the presidency. You'd think for good reason, but we've never had that before. And I've sorted through the case law, none of which has been helpful, provided by Donald Trump. This is my artist rendering of Mershon. And I'm going to deny it, okay? But I'm going to suspend my decision for 30 days, go file. The loser was always going to file an appeal. The appeals, I think, probably start in state court with 2 levels, but eventually get to the United States Supreme Court. He's going to hold off sentencing until the case eventually gets returned to him by the Supreme Court or by the New York highest courts, whatever. I don't think that happens until after Trump is inaugurated, meaning sometime in late 2025. Then you got the new issue. How do you sentence the guy or make him participate in sentencing while he's now the office of the president? Where you now have the argument that he's being distracted from his duties and has to go back and face the music for his crimes. And do we delay that whole thing until he's citizen Trump once again? But that's for another day. So everybody that ran with, he'll never see the inside of a jail, I'm not so sure about that. In fact, I think he will get sentenced because what I'll leave it on this, Ben. What the Manhattan DA said, which is so right, is all we're talking about is a temporary condition. They called it a temporary immunity at best. In other words, it's like a virus you get over the weekend. Eventually it clears. The temporary immunity is he won't be president forever. And when he stops being president, he stops having any of the trappings of the presidency, including immunity. Sentence him then. Make him serve his time then. Because the Manhattan DA is not, just to tamp down on the enthusiasm in our chat, the Manhattan DA is not going to make him serve jail time or argue that while he's president. But when he's not president in 2029 and he's 82 years old or whatever he is, that's a whole different story. That's how I read out what just transpired with all of the briefings and Judge Merchan's ruling.
Popak, take us out with some good news, though, about the federal judges who are being confirmed in the Senate. I think 1/4 of all circuit court judges right now have been appointed by Biden, and of all circuit court judges, the Court of Appeals throughout the country, have been appointed by Biden and confirmed by Schumer's leadership of the Senate. Also, about 215, 216 federal judges confirmed so far, some real qualified people. We don't have to get into it here because we've talked about it on prior shows. You do a lot of hot takes on it, but the robust role of federal judges right now, it's going to be more important than ever, especially as the Supreme Court overturned what's called a Chevron doctrine, which used to give a ton of deference to agency actions. And now it either is decided in the first instance by a clear expression of Congress, and there's a more robust role for federal judges now in not giving deference to agencies. So all of these, people who Donald Trump are appointing in a pre-Supreme Court striking down Chevron, this decision world, agencies would have more power. Agencies have now been neutered by Federalists' doctrine, trying to, saying that's the deep state in action, get rid of the agencies. It should be more decided by federal judges, because then what they would do is they'd find that judge in the Northern District or Eastern District of Texas, get a case in front of them, issue nationwide injunctions, and block agency action without showing deference. So anyway, we'll do it. We've done hot takes on that. That's not really here nor there, but I want to let people know there's a bigger role for judges now. But just give us the raw numbers, Popak, how big this is.
1,000%. Good news is that Chuck Schumer and Dick Durbin struck a deal with some Republicans who were dragging their feet. They're not in the majority in the lame duck 118th Republicans, but we have a very tenuous majority that's held together with tissue paper and chewing gum, including Joe Manchin, who doesn't give a crap anymore since he didn't run again. And he had a rule. It was the Manchin rule. He would only vote with the majority of the Democrats if at least one Republican crossed over and voted for a judge candidate. That was it. And so if they couldn't get Susan Collins or Lisa Murkowski or somebody else to join them, because the rest of them, their sphincters have closed because Donald Trump keeps yelling at them about no more confirmations before inauguration because he wants all of them for himself. Obviously, I'll state the obvious. Every confirmation that doesn't happen under Joe Biden is one more that Donald Trump has on day one. So why give him a 20-point lead, in other words? And we're talking about lifetime federal judges here. This is really, really important. So the deal that was made, which is a little bit, I'm a little bit of two minds about it, but I'll put it out there on the table, is that Chuck Schumer's office decided that at least 4 of the circuit court, the appellate court judges, couldn't get confirmed. Probably because they couldn't get that one Republican over, including what would have been the first Muslim American to be on a appellate court, to be on the circuit court. It's hard to believe we're this far along. It's also hard to believe that a number of Muslim Americans decided that Donald Trump was the right person to vote for. We're the ones that had the candidate up there to be the first Muslim American to be on the circuit court, and the Republicans won't even support it. And so they made a decision that they traded 4 appellate court seats that are now going to, I'm just going to say it out loud, are going to go to Donald Trump. It's the 4th Circuit, the 1st Circuit, the 3rd Circuit, and the 6th Circuit. They are going to Donald Trump. In return, the Democrats believe they got about 20 more judge confirmations between now and Jan 3 than they would have had before. So that was the stitch in times to saves 9. They sacrificed 4 to pick up at least 3 to 4 times that. And so we will, and we'll do hot takes on it about the benefit of that or the transactional cost of that. But they felt like otherwise the Republicans were using every trick in the book, every procedural stop they could. Oh, got to go to the bathroom. Oh, we got to use our quill pens today. Oh no, we got to do a voice vote. Oh, no. And then, then you got the Democrats who have been hanging together, but they got to all be there all the time. And, then Thanksgiving is coming up. It's starting to get difficult and we're running out of time. And that's what happens. I mean, Donald Trump, for those that said, why didn't Joe Biden get them all confirmed in time? He was there for 4 years. I mean, even Donald Trump couldn't get the last 17 confirmed and turned them over to Joe Biden. But one of the things so that's a good news. One of the things I'm just going to put like a little pin in, and then you and I'll pick up on it in various ways on Legal AF for Midas Touch, is my real fear. And Court Accountability Action, which joined us on Legal AF, has this fear too, which is that they're going to try to expand the federal judiciary and pack the court when they're in control and Trump is there. There's always been this bipartisan call for more federal judges because the federal judges are overworked. I mean, by the time the criminal docket is done, there's very little time for the civil docket. Judges have thousands and thousands of cases. There could easily be 3 to 5 more judges in every district added. We're talking about hundreds of new judges. And there's never been the political will to do it, but the Republicans, they may try to give the gift that keeps on giving to Donald Trump and give him 100 more picks than he would have normally had. And we'll leave for another day whether he tries that at the United States Supreme Court. The thing that we wouldn't do, that Biden wouldn't do, is Trump going to try to do it and make it a 15-person Supreme Court or a 13 or 12 or whatever it's going to be. So the good news is what we started with, but I want to manage expectations and keep our eye on the prize, which is we have to stop the expansion of the federal courts and the Supreme Court under the Senate majority, which means we got to make them as lame duck as quick as possible and crush them at the midterms. I mean, you and I don't want people, I know people like, oh, that's Midas Touch just talking again about, to make themselves relevant. No, we have to stay together to crush Trump in the midterms. When people find out through shows like ours what they voted for or what they didn't realize they were voting for happens, we have to be there to mobilize and crush them at the midterms while we pin them down in the court system through the thousands of lawsuits that'll be filed.
And that's not because it's blue team v red team, donkey versus elephant. It is because what Trump was saying to voters was a lie. Right. It's a lie when he says, I don't know what Project 2025 is, where there's video of the guy who is the architect of Project 2025 saying, look, Trump's just saying that because it's a branding thing. It's a bad brand for him to run on, but I'm going to be the guy. And then Trump appoints the guy to run the Office of Management and Budget to implement Project 2025. And that means it's an attack on your Social Security. It's an attack on your health care. It's an attack on Medicare. And it is a cash grab for the billionaires. And so as we start to see all of this take shape, and, for all of the different groups out there that goes, oh, the bloody deportations, he was talking about them, not me. And for, the people who were saying, no, not my union. Yeah, when the National Labor Relations Board gets completely gutted, which, by the way, is what Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos argued before the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals this past week, right? What was Elon Musk's argument to the Fifth Circuit? That the National Labor Relations Board should not exist, that it doesn't have the authority to exist. And what Musk cited was a lot of the Supreme Court's recent precedent which neutered the Securities and Exchange Commission's ability to adjudicate cases. Remember when we talked about that here? And so there's a linkage to all of this stuff. So if Elon Musk is running this make-believe agency called DOJ, and he's acting as a co-president, and his whole policy is to destroy the National Labor Relations Board so that workers don't have a place to have a grievance, how do you think this is going to work? And let's be clear. I mean, look, Trump's pick to lead the Department of Labor is actually someone who supports the PRO Act. And on paper, she seems to be someone who, you know, in terms of all of who the picks can be, her name is Representative Lori Chavez-DeRemer, in terms of Republicans, seems to be a decently supportive person of labor. But when you get into it, it doesn't matter if you don't have a National Labor Relations Board existing in the first place, because then someone won't be able to do anything if there's no place, if there's no forum for a grievance, or if unions aren't allowed to exist. So we're going to follow all of that. And then what we have to do is we have to communicate directly to the people. Politics is personal, and you have to look people in the eyes, and you have to let people know that you care about them, not just through your policies, because clearly Biden's policies helped people who ended up not voting for Biden and Harris. So how could that be if your policies help the people? Because I think also there is an element of it where you have to, in your campaign, go to the people and just say it. I care about you. I'm here for you. I will be here. I will be your fighter. People need to hear that. People need to hear that. And what Trump did was he said, I'm here to fight for you because they, migrants and trans people, they're coming to attack you. Trump lied. He divided us to give a cash grab to billionaires at Mar-a-Lago like himself, dividing us by culture wars. We don't have to play that game because the threat is real, not eating dogs and cats. It's eating away Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, healthcare. It's real what they want to do. They're coming for the unions. They're coming for your healthcare. So we got to message that. We got to talk about that. We got to keep growing our platform. Subscribe to the Legal AF YouTube channel. If you're subscribed here, that's Legal AF on YouTube. Michael Popak leads that great channel. It's crushing it. Great work, Michael Popak. And I want to thank everybody for watching. Stay in there. Stay in the fight. We're going to certainly stay in the fight. And let me tell you, we do care about you. We are here with you every step of the way. Our whole team here. We ain't going nowhere. Thanks for watching. Shout out Legal AFers. Shout out Midas Media.